I'm live. Hello, good morning. I thought I'd read the end of this chapter entitled, what was it entitled? It was entitled Great Thirst. Piyanah and Raki are going through the desert, which is full of salt. This is the story of Joan Grant as a life as Piyanah. This life played many, many thousands of years ago in a tribe, an American Indian tribe, many thousands of years ago, somewhere in the West. Joan Grant was born 1907 and died in 1989. She wrote books of her farm memories. And she is Piyanah, and Raki is her cousin, and they have managed to form a new tribe and changed tradition, and they want to break the bounds of superstition that have infected the old tribe. They have gone through ordeals, and they have now left the tribe of the two trees. They have formed a tribe for themselves called the two herons. They took their tribe, which is about 70 or so people, couples and helpers, and they have gone a very arduous journey to go south. They are now going over the area which is called the Great Thirst, where apparently nobody ever returned from that journey. But they did it anyway because they did not want to stay where they were, even though they were fed and admired at this tribe where they had been before they set off to this last leg of their journey. But they decided they'd rather try a new adventure and have their own ground and make their own lives. So, it says here the difference between dying in cold, which makes you sleep, and dying in hot wind, which is a horrific death with the hot, cruel hands of a strangler because they had just come into a sandstorm. It made us cower flat to the ground, for if we dared stand upright to give a challenge, it would have snatched off our clothes to leave us naked and defenseless. Each breath was a laboured effort. We sucked in air through the blankets which we held over our faces. At last Raki had to sacrifice 10 of our remaining water skins to damp strips of blankets which we tied over our mouths and nostrils to keep out the worst of the dust. I knew what a wounded deer must feel with an arrow between her ribs. Each breath was a battle won, each pain a siege withstood against the demons of this unclean storm. The wind dropped as suddenly as it had risen, and the dark dust-laden air became slowly luminous. We scrambled to our feet, dazed and exhausted. The wind had grown tired of the dust and was letting it fall back into the desert. Now we could see the sun, heavy and round as a rising autumn moon. It is still daylight, I said slowly. The sun is not even low in the sky. I had thought it must be the morning of the next day. So much fear to be spanned by half a day's journey, so much courage needed to survive one desert storm. We had to dig our hands out of the sand. The teepee was covered by a drift, and we might never have found it if we had not noticed one of the poles, which had been snatched up by the wind and thrust upright like an arrow into the ground. I tried to free my hair from dust by running my fingers through it, but it only trickled down into my eyes, which were already sore and inflamed. There was a coarse grit under my fingernails, and it grated between my teeth. My tongue was so dry that it was difficult to talk without slurring the words, but when I tried to spit dust out of my mouth, I could not even produce enough saliva. Raki had to use 5 more skins of water before he could persuade everybody to pick up their loads and take their place in the file we led. Their shadows stretched forlornly behind them, as if they trailed their grave wrappings while seeking a place to leave their tormented bodies. I began to believe our track would be marked by shallow graves. Beyond the last 2 skulls, their scarlet feathers bleached to the colour of the bone. Now the wind had dropped. The sun was mocking in a cloudless sky. I saw dark shapes ahead and thought they were bison. I broke into a run, notching an arrow to my bowstring. I thought of flesh and red meat, wet and juicy. Where there is blood and bison, there must be water. Water running over stones, water in deep, clean pools, water cupped in my hands. Water, even a little mucky water. Great hunters, we have so many lakes and rivers. Please give us water. We don't need enough to float a canoe, only to drink. But please let us be able to drink, knowing there is enough for us all. Stop, Piyanah. Raki was running beside me. There's nothing there, Piyanah. Why are you notching your arrow? Bison! Raki, fresh meat and water. His fingers strong and insistent dug into my arm. You are dreaming, Piyanah. These are rocks, not bisons. Black rocks scattered over the desert. They give us shade. We can rest there until nightfall, for it will be cooler travelling under the stars. It was true, we could rest in the shade, but the smooth black rocks, polished by wind since time was young, stored the heat, so the shadows were a little cooler than the direct rays of the sun. There were only 5 water skins left when Raki gave the order to move on. The night was moonless, and between the great boulders there were small rocks, half buried in the sand, which were difficult to avoid. I wanted to leave the teepee behind because the men finding it so heavy to carry, but Raki said that if we abandoned it, they would know there was little hope of the tribe's survival. I kept on remembering how the blue smokes had said, the great thirst stretches to the end of the world. Some people believe there is fire at the end of the world, and others that there is a wall of water or ice where all the rivers return into the sky. Fire or water? Fire or water? Blood throbbed in my ears as though my head were a cooking pot bubbling over a fire. My body was fire. My feet and hands, embers. My mouth, ashes, hot ashes. On the evening of the 16th day, there were only 2 skins of water left, and for a long time we had dared to no more than moisten our tongues. 3 of the women could not be roused when Raki said it was time to go on. Death had come for them while they slept. They lay huddled in the shadow of a boulder, tattered blankets drawn over their heads. Drought had stretched their skins so tightly over the bone that they looked very old. I heard the sharp crack of their joints as their arms were folded to prepare them for burial. We dug shallow graves and laid them curled on their sides, facing the west. Their husbands put 5 grains of seed maize into their right hand, and beside each of them an empty water skin. Even on the other side of the water they might fear thirst until they grew accustomed to the broad rivers of heaven. In silence we trudged on, Rakina and Tikini close behind us, the others following according to their remaining strength. I stumbled over a rock and fell sprawling in the hot sand. Sand thrust into my mouth, trying to choke me. I thought I could hear water dripping into a pool among wet ferns. I held out my hand to catch the drops, slowly and heavy. They splashed against my dry palm, slow and heavy. Warm as blood, salt as blood. It is blood dripping from my nostrils. I'm floating on dark water, but when I try to scoop it up, I find I can't move my arms. My body won't obey me anymore. The tribe won't obey me because they know I have betrayed them. I'm dying of thirst. Hachan had an easier death than thirst, but he didn't betray them. He only lost faith too soon. I can hear Raki telling Tikina that they must go on along to find water. If he goes, we shall die without each other. I want to go with them, but they can't understand what I'm trying to say. I can't speak properly because my tongue is too big for my mouth. Raki says I must stay to look after the others, for if we both go, the heron will find that Chief has abandoned them. Raki carries me to a great boulder and puts the last 2 water skins beside me, so that I can say when they may be used. He takes my feathered headdress from its wrappings and says I am to wear it to remind them that the chief's authority must be obeyed. I managed to smile as Raki before I have to go and watch him go away with Tikini, further and further away into the desert. Soon we are both going to die of thirst. Soon we shall be safe on the other side of the water. The feathered headdress seemed very heavy, too heavy for Piyanah to support. I felt my thoughts struggling to escape from my will. fighting against me as though I tried to pinion an eagle. I was trying to carry water in my hands, but it ran between my fingers and soaked away into the sand. I looked at my hands and they were dry as ashes, dry as bones. The stars were so bright that I could see the huddled shapes of those who had followed us into the desert, the tribe of the herons, who were dying because they had believed in me. Raki and Piyanah still believed in me. They had said that Nakachik would never betray us, and so they will find water in time to bring it back to us. They have taken 6 empty water skins, a heavy load even for men who are not thirsty. I must forget Piyanah and think only of Raki. He will need everything I can give him. Even my small strength, my flickering courage may help him. I am with Raki, sharing his thoughts, sharing his spirit. I am Raki. Piyanah must have water, so I shall find water. Piyanah will die if I don't find water soon. Nakachik told her we should live in peace beyond the desert, but she is dying because she has lost faith in her vision. I will bring water, and then she will believe in herself again. The stars are very close. Piyanah is with me. Raki is with Piyanah. I'm glad Piyanah and I tried to tied a rope to our bells, or we might have lost each other in the dark. If he falls, I shall feel the rope jerk and know where to find him. Piyanah's face was covered with blood. I must bring water to wash away the blood. If I fall, I might not have the strength to get up again. I must go on until I find water. The stars have fallen into the desert. 5 stars shining up from the sand. One of them may be Piyanah's star. She must be dead and has come back from the sky to find me. If I put her star into my mouth, she will be alive again. I must be careful to take the star that is Piyanah, or the spirit of a stranger will live in her body. Piyanah wouldn't like a stranger to live in her body. I wonder who the other stars belong to. I must tell Tikini in case one of them is Rakina. I have tugged on the rope, but it is slack in my hand. Tikina has gone on without me. He must have known it was Rakina's star and forgotten to wait for me. I can hear a sound that used to be familiar. Splashing, splashing. Water. Water. Tikina has come back. He's sluicing water over me. Clean, cool water. Water for Piyanah. Piyanah, we have found water. Wait for me, Piyanah. I was again Piyanah, but refreshed by the water that I knew Raki had reached. I went to Rakina. She was so difficult to wake that I thought she was dead. At last, she stirred and opened her eyes. Rakina, they have found water. They will reach us before evening. They are safe, Rakina. Do you understand? Safe. I must go tell the others. Leave them, Piyanah. Some of them may be asleep. And will the rest believe you? They will believe me when they see I'm strong, because I know the water is coming. To prove I'm sure, I will divide the last water skin amongst them. It is empty, said Rakina. You gave it to them last night, soon after Raki and Tikina went away. I went through the dawn to our people, and to each I whispered, the water is coming. Raki has found water. And they believed me. Some of the men wanted to go to meet Raki, but I said there had been wind during the night, which might have covered his tracks, so they must wait here for water to come to them. I climbed to the top of the high boulder beside which Rakina was lying, and watched the dawn come green as water out of the east. The sun climbed slowly up the sky, and still the desert was empty. I was sure that Raki had found water, but would he reach us in time? Rakina was very still. I thought of waking her to reassure myself that she was alive, but realized it would be cruel when I had no water to give her. Had she already gone to the other side of the water by crossing a waterless desert? Or where deserts feared because people who died there would never find water to carry them to the land of the sunset? Several times I thought I could see movement up the sandy waste, but it was always a rock shimmering in the heat. Now I could see 2 dark dots against the glaring whiteness. Demons had turned salt into water and boulders into bison. But surely these were men? There was something moving. Men. Raki and Tikina. But in the glare they might not be able to see you. Shout to them, Piyanah. My mouth was so dry that no sound came. Blood is warm and salt, but blood is moisture. I bit my arm and then more deeply until a mouthful of blood softened my tongue, which had grown hard and swollen with thirst. Raki! Raki, I tried to shout louder than that pitiful croak, Raki. My voice must have carried a long way in that still air, for I heard their answering shout. We have found water, plenty of water, only half a day's journey to a river. They walked upright in triumph, as do men who have proved their vision. I saw our people stumbling towards them, towards Raki and Piyanah, who brought life out of the south. Wow, they found water. Yay! Place of the corn growing is another chapter, and there's 2 more. I hope you're enjoying this as I am. It is Tuesday today. It is the 4th of April 2023. And I'm almost at the end of this. I can't wait to hear the good ending. Bye.